Good morning. Welcome to the program agenda. And today is October 24, 2023. It's a Tuesday. The sun is once again shining bright. Yesterday was really gloomy, but today it's shining bright. That promises to make it, at the very least, a warm day. I do hope you are all up and about, looking forward to a great day. Welcome to Cignal TV, One News, and thank you for watching us here on channels 8 and 250. Thank you for being Cignal TV subscribers, and please spread the word, share the great service programs of Cignal TV to your friends so that we can all get together on a regular basis. Thank you also to PLDT for their home fiber optic internet. And syempre naman, we also thank those who make extra effort. Dapat kasi mag-Cignal TV na kayo, but still who make an extra effort to catch us via Facebook and YouTube. We understand many of you are not in the country, and some of you are very mobile, so you have to catch us via Facebook and YouTube. And we really appreciate that, especially the, how do you call them, the cyber nomads or internet nomads. Anyway, today we're going to have a double header, so I better speed things up. We are going to, if you have lolos, lolas, senior citizens, or if you yourself are a senior citizen and you are concerned about your health, about how to take care of yourself, etc., well, we will be speaking with an expert on the subject matter of geriatric care. And it is not simply care of the old and the feeble and the elderly. Marami po, 60, 65, they're very strong, but they need to prepare for the time when their bodies start to slow down. So we're going to tackle that. And then after that, we will speak to someone from the PLDT group and what they are doing regarding child abuse online, regarding child pornography, etc., because that has been a corporate concern of PLDT. Now, we will go first to our daily starter. And this is, I picked this up because it's part of my ministry. I minister to widows and widowers, and we pray for them. I try my best to spend time with them. I have a regular list of widowers I meet up with. And this one is for those of you who may have recently lost, not just widowers, but, you may have lost someone physically, you may have lost someone relationally, and you are in grief. And it comes from Elizabeth the First. Grief never ends, but it changes. It's a passage, not a place to stay. Grief is not a sign of weakness nor a lack of faith. It is the price of love. Remember that. It is a passage, not a place to stay. It is not a sign of weakness or lack of faith. It's the price we pay for truly loving someone. And that's an interesting passage there, because a lot of you might be wondering or thinking, mo, malilipas din yan, it will pass. No, if you truly love someone and you truly care and they have passed on, the grief stays. You'll always be grieving because it's real. But there is hope, and it's simply a matter of managing it. Okay, let's now go to the front page of the Philippine Star. And today, October 24, 2023, the front page of the Philippine Star, Philippine files protest versus China, envoy no show at DFA. So ayun po, no? Okay, the government, the Philippine government, has filed a protest, and they had called for the Chinese ambassador to the Philippines to report to the DFA to explain what's going on. But unfortunately, he was a no-show. Meanwhile, House panel cites LTFRB whistleblower in contempt. Okay. The House Committee on Transportation yesterday cited in contempt Jefferson Tumbado for giving flip-flopping statements on his allegations of corruptions at the LTFRB and had him detained for 10 days. So, ayan, there is a price to pay when you give false testimony. Buti nga, hindi pa siya kinakasuhan ng perjury. Meanwhile, MOPC or the Manila Overseas Press Club names Philippine Star Newspaper of the Year. Okay? For the Manila Overseas Press Club has named the Philippine Star as Newspaper of the Year, citing its Chief Executive Officer, Editor-in-Chief, and columnist the first time in 78 years of the organization. BBM calls command conference on West Philippine Sea, and that is the center photo of the Philippine Star today. President Marcos convening a special command conference of national security and defense clusters at Malacanang yesterday, ordering the Philippine Coast Guard to conduct an investigation into China's recent harassment of the Philippine vessels in the West Philippine Sea. Okay, and then lower on the front page of the Philippine Star, court halts delivery of LTO plastic cards. A Quezon City Court has issued a preliminary injunction stopping the delivery of plastic cards for driver's license by the winning bidder. Yan po ang problema. Okay, so in case you are one of those who cannot get the plastic license card that you paid for, the problem is the Philippine justice system. It is not always the national government. Often it is our prostituted, complicated, I don't know how to call it, system where people can just delay and delay things. Anyway, government deploys more security forces for BSKE. More government forces are being deployed to ensure a peaceful and orderly barangay Sangguniang Kabataan elections. At least 715 personnel from the PNP, 250 from the AFP, and 115 from the Coast Guard, etc. So yun po, no? Add-on lang po yun. Photo below, left side of the Philippine Star, students wear national costumes of different countries during an activity at an elementary school in Baclaran ahead of celebration of United Nations Day. Meanwhile, oil firms raise pump prices. Tumaas na naman po ang crudo. In separate advisories yesterday, oil firms said prices would be hiked by 95 centavos per liter of gasoline, 130 pesos per, sorry. Mali. 1 peso 30 centavos per liter for diesel and 1 peso 25 per liter of kerosene. Where is my brain going to? Okay. So experts, meanwhile, says, and we have written about this in the Philippine Star, EO needed to boost cyber security. Okay. Ace Asedillo, president of the Philippine Institute of Cybersecurity Professionals, said an executive order is a concrete step against a recent string of cyber hack attacks on the websites of several government agencies. So there you go. And last but not the least, Centeno beats Chinese foe to bag World 10-ball crown. Sa bilyar po yan. Okay, so congratulations. And we will now go for a quick break here on Agenda.
Several efforts have been made by lawmakers in ensuring the health and safety of the Filipino elderly. In 2022, the House of Representatives passed a bill that would create a National Center for Geriatric Health and Research Institute. This would be mandated to establish and maintain an integrated institution specializing in geriatric health services, while dedicated and specialty geriatric centers will rise across all regions. More recently, the National Commission of Senior Citizens recently launched its 5-year Philippine Plan of Action for Senior Citizens. The action plan aims to create an inclusive and age-friendly society that safeguards the rights and privileges, as well as the health and well-being of senior citizens nationwide. What else can be done to boost geriatrics in the country? Let's discuss that further on today's agenda.
Dr. Niña Bravo is the Vice Chairperson of Geriatrics at the Rizal Medical Center. Bravo is also a fellow at the Philippine College of Physicians and a diplomat at the Philippine College of Geriatric Medicine. She is also a medical specialist at the Jose R. Reyes Memorial Medical Center, National Center for Geriatric Health.
Good morning, Doc Niña. Welcome to the program Agenda.
Good morning, Sir Cito. Thank you for having me.
Okay, let's get on with the program. They're now planning to put up or have passed the bill for the National Center for Geriatric Health and Research Institute. What is your impression, reaction to this? Is this a finally moment, or is this something that it has been in existence, etc.? What is the state of geriatric healthcare in the Philippines?
Okay, actually, sir, I'm also affiliated with that institution. It was mentioned earlier. I'm a consultant in Jose Reyes Memorial Medical Center dash National Center for Geriatric Health. So right now we are under the umbrella of Jose Reyes while we are awaiting for our Republic Act, because to be a standalone DOH hospital, you have to have a Republic Act. So this institution has been in existence for 13 years. and we have been lobbying for a Republic Act for that long. So this is a long time coming po, but we are functional and operational, but under the umbrella of Jose Reyes.
Okay, now speaking nationally, no, or even at Rizal Medical Center, what is the reality for geriatric patients or elderly patients? What are they usually coming in for? What medical concerns are there for geriatric patients?
So geriatric patients can be very challenging, no? So not one person is alike. Okay, so you cannot put them in a group that all geriatric patients, all patients 60 and above are frail or weak. Okay, so there would be some patients who are strong even in their 70s, but there on the other hand, there'll be some patients who are weak even if they're just 60. Okay, so the patients that we get in Rizal Medical Center, usually the ones that are admitted, I'm talking about the ones who are admitted, that's already automatically, they have a level of frailty. Well, that's why they were admitted, because they're more prone to infection, no, and other chronic conditions. So another challenge is that they have multiple comorbidities. So usually it's already a combo package. We call that like hypertension, diabetes, heart disease. And that would also entail a lot of maintenance medication, which would mean finances, no? So financial demand. So that's one of the challenges that they face
Okay,
is
you mentioned
finances.
you mentioned Doc Nina, combo comorbidities. Parang
Yes.
combo meals eh. Is
Yes,
that
sir.
because of is
Exactly.
that because of the all the eating of fast food, combo meals? Is a geriatric or are geriatric diseases because of diet, etc.? Because some people naman they tell me, Kuyang, some of our patients or many of the elderly patients usually are people who fell in the bathroom, slipped in the stairs. So parang mostly related to an injury, a fall, and then the complications happen. Is this general or this just one of the things?
Actually, in geriatric medicine, we have something that we call geriatric syndromes. Okay, so these geriatric syndromes are not necessarily diseases, but these are conditions faced by the elderly, wherein when they have this, everyday life becomes a challenge. So that is
Okay.
what we call geriatric syndrome. So what are these? We have dementia, depression, delirium, as you mentioned, falls, also insomnia, continence, vertigo. Okay, so those are some of the examples. So this has an interaction or interplay wherein they make the elderly vulnerable. So as you mentioned, like risk for fall or falls that happen with the elderly, it could also be secondary to sarcopenia. These are the things that we are not familiar with, right? Yung sarcopenia, it happens when the muscle mass, because as we age, we lose lean muscle mass. So
Mhm.
at around 60, you lose about 12% of your muscle mass. Okay? So if you lose your muscle mass and then the fat percentage increases, you become weaker. So your stability also is challenged. So you're prone to fall. Okay, so that is one thing. And then there are also, it can also be, as I said, interplay. If a patient has a lot of medications and they're not guided well, where we call it polypharmacy. So some of the medications actually has an effect also on their balance, so they also are prone to fall. So it is a multiple factors that affect the patient. So we
Or
cannot just, yes po.
yeah, there are also that issue of disrupted sleep cycles.
Yes po,
Because
insomnia.
yeah, some people have insomnia, some elderly people sleep like babies. Putol-putol ang tulog,
Yes
and
po.
usually it's in the middle of the night. They wake up and they try to go to the toilet, or they
Yes.
start walking around, no one to supervise them, etc. Now, what is the biggest concern in terms of morbidities, ailments of the elderly? What is the most predominant or pinaka-common, as they say, Doc Niña?
Among the elderly and also in the Philippines, it's still hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and followed by diabetes. So those are still the two most common comorbidities that we encounter with our patients.
Okay, so when people go to you, and I suppose ultimately I will be seeing you just for future planning. If I want to future proof myself as a senior citizen, what do you tell, or how do you handle patients? What do you advise them? Is there a program that you hand out at Rizal Medical Center for geriatric patients, or those who are about to become senior, on how to prepare for it? Because hindi natin pinaghahandaan eh. In the Philippines, it's like we only go to the hospital because we have a problem.
Yes, yes, sir. So we have what we advise with the patient, no, as with any other age group. Okay, you start as early as possible. So first, stop all the vices. If you have any vices, smoking, alcohol, uh, vaping nowadays, so you have to stop that, and you have to have better food choices. Okay, as much as possible, avoid processed sugar, processed meat, or any processed food. So that's one thing. And of course, exercise. Okay, so we don't need to have a rigorous or intense exercise. 150 minutes a week of walking is already very beneficial, no? So at any age group po yan. And then when you reach, because these things that you start now, it will really benefit you in the future. So it's like you're investing. So as early as possible, invest on your health already. And of course, keep an active lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Keep an active lifestyle, and not just the physical, but your mind as well. Keep your mind active.
Yeah,
Okay?
I hear people keep telling me, gamit, you play with Sudoku, or, come up with Scrabble, etc. But, you were talking about staying active. In the Philippines, the attitude of family members is to treat senior citizen as old, frail, and helpless. And
Yes.
in Europe, I have seen from my wife's family and their neighbors, they're driving at 80 years old. They're carrying groceries up steep stairs. In Holland, ang stairs doon, in the Netherlands, the stairs are really steep, and they're strong.
Yes.
Is there a campaign to tell people, let the senior citizens carry their own bags, etc.?
Yes, actually, it's also part one of the programs of DOH. So we're encouraging elderly people or senior citizens to keep an active lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
because that's really the secret. I think we should also change our mindset. No, because there's that thing called ageism na, oh, you're already senior citizen, you retire, you stay at home, don't do anything. So we should also keep our change our mindset, and we tell this to the relatives of our patients na you should allow the elderly to do their usual activities, the things that they are used to. Let them do it, but of course be careful. Have somebody na supervising them just to keep them safe physically. But for example, if a person is a business manager, he or she's used to coordinating things, arranging things, managing things, let them continue doing that, because that will really benefit. It will benefit them, and it will keep or maintain their health. And for example, if a person is athletic, no, don't make them stop, because it as a personal story, my grandfather was playing tennis until he was 80 years old. But then, back then it was like, oh, you're already 80, it's dangerous for you. So he stopped playing, and then in a span of 2 years, he deteriorated. He became very frail, his muscles went away, and that's where his health declined. So it's important to keep a healthy lifestyle and active lifestyle.
Okay, any other tips that you give? By the way, how is it in Jose Reyes and also in the Rizal Medical Center? Are you overwhelmed by geriatric patients, or it's still a system where you send patients for particular morbidities and not really because they're senior citizens or elderly?
In Rizal Medical Center, we have an average of about 1,000 elderly a month. We cater to that in all specialties po yun. So we have, that is actually not average, minimum. Sometimes we hit 2,000 a month. So we have a lot of elderly patients. In Jose Reyes, we cater to OPD patients, about 150 patients every day, senior citizens. So there is a lot. Right now, we are looking at 10 million senior citizens in the country. And yeah, there's
Are they relatively fit or frail? Because you used the word earlier, frail, and in some countries they have a lot of old people but healthy people, healthy geriatric citizens. In the Philippines, what is the condition of geriatric citizens?
actually what I have observed in my practice. Those age 70 are usually, those who reach the age of 70, they're still not very robust, but they are robust. They're independent. I think it has something to do with their environment. That generation, they had better food choices, they were more active as compared to the younger generation, wherein we are fed with all this processed food and more sedentary lifestyle. So for those who are 70 and above, we still see a lot of strong elderly compared to the young old, which is 60 to 69. I think it has really something to do with the lifestyle and then environment also.
Okay, so it is very clear that the food choices, the lifestyle will ultimately affect the life or the quality of life of people as they reach the 70 mark. Medyo
Yes,
hindi,
sir.
hindi natatanaw ko na pero hindi pa naman. Okay.
Malayo pa po kayo, sir.
Okay, so any final advice for our viewers? How do you? Is there an evaluation test for elderly if they're okay, or they better have themselves checked in, etc. Kasi di ba parang kotse, you bring in
Yes.
sa mechanic or in repair shop, can you please inspect everything? And is there such as thing as evaluation for geriatric patients?
Yes, sir. So we have these screening tools. So we have in geriatric medicine, we have comprehensive geriatric assessment, or CGA. So these are a compilation of tools wherein we check for the different geriatric syndromes that I mentioned earlier, like are there any signs of early dementia, depression, delirium, continence, malnutrition, risk for fall, sensory impairment, and functional impairment. So, but it is a very lengthy.
Sandali, Doc. Doc. Can
Yes.
you do it one by one? So people, because some people, they won't go to the hospital until there's really a problem, and that's the worst
Yes.
thing to do. But if they're watching the program now, can you explain those points of assessment one by one?
Yes, sir. So, first of all, before we proceed to that comprehensive, lengthy geriatric assessment, there have been several screening tools, shorter screening tools, which have been developed. So, there's one developed by St. Luke's, which most of us are using, the short geriatric screening. And there's also a 10-minute screening by the World Health Organization, and also there's another screening developed by the DOH. So first, when a patient comes to us, we do this short geriatric screening. So they are categorized in low, moderate, and high risk. So those low risk are presumably robust or independent. They don't have any problems in their daily activities. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then the moderate ones, if there is a because there's a scoring. So if there is, for example, we have identified a domain that is prominent, we can proceed to the comprehensive geriatric assessment. And then,
Okay, because we might run out of time, let's go to the geriatric assessment. You were talking about some physical features, continence, etc. At nag-ano, nag-stick do sa continence eh. Hindi matunawan.
yes, sir. So, and then we proceed to the comprehensive geriatric assessment. So, yun nga po, this is a very lengthy test and several tools. It can be a minimum of 5 screening tools or evaluation tools up to sometimes 15. So, we give like for dementia, I think that's the most concern, no, yung dementia. So,
Okay, dementia, ano ba yan? Ulyani, forgetfulness, or delusional?
okay, so dementia po, it is a this is a physiologic change. Not really, it's a pathologic change. Okay, so there would be a accumulation of what they call tangles and plaques in the brain. Okay,
Okay.
so it will affect the brain function, the different brain function, the executive thinking,
What is the common
memory.
manifestation?
Actually, this one, sir, by the time that the patient comes to us as an elderly, it's already either moderate or severe. Okay, so this one starts about from studies 10 to 20 years before. So there could be around 40 years old, there could be some changes that you're already experiencing. Okay?
Like I am experiencing immediate short-term memory loss, meaning
That could be one.
I just met you, 5 minutes later, I forgot your name already. Or some people are like, hey, I went down to get something and they can't remember what they went down to get. But this happens with regularity. So that's the
Yes.
catch, right?
Yes, and it
Okay.
affects your daily function. It disrupts your daily activity. So when that happens, then that is already significant po. But one of the things that you're asking, like the subtle signs, okay,
Yeah.
if you have an elderly with you, your mother or your father, your grandparents, one of the things that changes is the way they cook or the way they taste food. Very, very subtle. So
Like
those,
some people put more salt,
yes,
they want more sugar,
yes,
and or they don't have too much of an appetite, and they end
yes.
up fighting with you because you're trying to spoon feed them. Okay, pasensya na, Doc Niña, no?
Yes.
Nina, because we're down to our minute and a half. So quickly, aside from dementia, what else?
There's also, I think one of the things that we have to emphasize is malnutrition. Yung malnutrition in the elderly, because that leads to sarcopenia, which I mentioned earlier, wherein the patient loses the muscle mass.
Yeah.
So yung malnutrition, you have to have better food choices. Some of the elderly naman, because they have hypertension, diabetes, they were advised to diet, then they miss out on the essential vitamins and minerals and those that are needed. So it has to be balanced.
Mhm.
So as uh, as what has been advised before, adapt a Mediterranean diet. But we
Mhm.
can, I mean, don't be overwhelmed yung mga, our
Okay.
audiences, because we're
So
in the Philippines. So we have a substitute for that, like
okay,
more
well,
vegetables and fish.
yeah. So okay, so malnutrition, dementia, loss of muscle mass, and then anything else? Last two, kung meron pa.
Fall. So, yun nga po eh. With the geriatric syndromes, it's like a package. Magkakadugtong interactive siya, interplay siya. So, again, there's also risk for falls.
Mhm.
And and again, to lessen your risk for fall, exercise, have proper diet. So, that's,
Okay. Oh,
yeah.
okay, Doc Nina Bravo, thank you very much. Don't worry, there will be a part two to this and a longer version on geriatric healthcare. So thank you very much. Thank you to the RMC management and staff for their support here. And God bless your work, Doc, and have a great day.
Thank you also, sir, and thank you for your support also for our institution. Thank you.
Okay, thank
God
you.
bless po.
God bless. We'll go for a quick break. And when we return, let's go from elderly care to child protection. We will be right back here on Agenda.
Did you know that 1 in 2 children in the Philippines is a victim of violence on the internet? Some of them are unfortunately victims of online sexual abuse and exploitation. According to International Justice Mission, nearly 500,000 Filipino children were trafficked to produce child sexual exploitation materials. In efforts to counter online child sexual abuse, the Department of Social Welfare and Development and the Department of Justice signed the implementing rules and regulations of the Anti-OSA-EC law. This IRR outlines the comprehensive guidelines and mechanisms to combat online sexual abuse of children. The Anti-Money Laundering Council also flagged over 1.56 billion pesos of suspicious transactions related to online child sexual abuse for the past 3 years. How can the private sector help the government in combating these cases? Let's further discuss this on today's agenda.
Melissa Vergel de Dios is the first Vice President, Chief Sustainability Officer, and Head of Investor Relations of PLDT and Smart. She has been with PLDT since 2001 and held various roles, such as leading the Property and Facilities Management Center. Before she joined PLDT, Vergel de Dios started her professional career with the San Miguel Group of Companies.
Okay, welcome to the program, Miss Melissa, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Morning, sir.
Okay, walang sir. Bawal lang sir
Morning,
dito.
Cito. Morning,
Okay.
Cito.
Yeah, thank you. Now, I just allow me to get straight to the point that you have this program at PLDT. Why is PLDT Smart very concerned about this online sexual abuse and production of video materials or actually live presentation and trafficking of children?
That's correct. So you heard the statistic. There's like 500,000 children who are trafficked online, and unfortunately sometimes it's the parents or relatives who are doing that. Basically under the maybe misconception that if there's no touch, there's no harm. But really, these are kids, some as young as infants, right, that are being peddled online. So PLDT, we provide an internet service, and we feel that while we open the world to a lot of possibilities, we're also a responsible broadband provider. So we feel that we have to make our customers safe online, whether that's cybersecurity or data privacy. And within our customer base, we have to make sure that the kids are protected because they're the most vulnerable among the age groups. But they have no idea of what's harmful or not. So we have basically taken on the responsibility of making sure that the usage of our service is safe, particularly for children.
Okay, I know that PLDT and Smart have cooperated with authorities because now it's not something I write or talk about, but some of my friends are very involved in this anti-child pornography and trafficking of children online. But just for the sake of our viewers, how does PLDT and Smart conduct their vigilance? What do you do to combat this? What technologies are used?
So we actually have a custom-built cybersecurity protection platform that we use to detect suspicious URLs or effectively internet addresses. And the way we do that is when we look at the addresses, we bash that against a list of blacklisted URLs. And obviously this problem is worldwide, right? It doesn't just sit in the Philippines. The Philippines might be the source of the content, but the demand comes from outside the Philippines. So we can't do it alone. I guess in all things, if you want to make a difference, you have to be partners with people. So we've partnered with many entities. UNICEF is one of them. The International Justice Mission is one of them. We've also effectively accessed the database of the Internet Watch Foundation and the Canadian Center for Child Protection. What these entities do is they provide, in many cases, the addresses of blacklisted content, and then we share our own. And I guess the attempt to address the problem can be scaled up if there are more partnerships. So those are some of the, and there are many more that I may not have mentioned, but effectively you're correct. There are people who are concerned about children, who are working together like-minded as PLDT and Smart, And together we're trying to solve the problem in whatever little way we can.
Well, it's not little. We save one child, we save a life, and a vast network and operations such as PLDT, that can't be little. But it's interesting. You raised a point, Melissa, earlier, that it's not just a parent selling the child's images or video online, because most people think, ay, grabe naman yung nanay na yan para lang mabayaran yung bisyo, magvi-video ng anak. We think it's a localized thing, but you're correct, it's international. But what about the local offender? How does PLDT track? Kasi alam ko may technology kayo. Nung may hinanap akong missing person na nakidnap, the telcos are able to triangulate. But in the case of these people who are using the platform for child abuse and pornography, how do you locate these people locally? Meron bang nagmo-monitor talaga ng mga online sellers ng video or
So parang I guess on many levels, diba? Yung una, what we had to work on was policy. So the law actually in the beginning did not allow us to block content. So we had to work with the regulators to be able to put the law in place so that this could be enforced, diba, against the perpetrators. Tapos, meron tayong partnerships with the local law enforcement as well. So, in the same way that I guess we are protecting against cybersecurity, meron din mga data privacy laws that we have to kind of work with or work around. But nonetheless, as you correctly pointed out, kapag meron kaming nakita, when we see something or someone that actually does trafficking, we are working with law enforcement to arrest those persons. So you kind of mentioned, you alluded to one thing, diba? It's the parents who actually peddle the kids. And the other thing that we have to contend with is something very cultural. Kapag nagsusumbong, unang-una, when the kids make sumbong or when they tell, first it's parang taboo to tell on your parents, diba? So it's a sensitive topic to begin with. But when you actually bring that to the barangay, even the barangay itself sometimes feels that that's a family problem. We don't want to deal with that. So what we're hoping to do also is to capacitate some of the local government units, and there are some that are already asking for assistance to create ordinances that actually parang will enable kids to make sumbong, to tell on their parents, diba? So it's a very complex problem, but I guess, diba, minsan one barangay at a time, one step at a time, and we have to contend with some of our cultural sensitivities. But it's very sad when you see it, parang infants, diba? Parang you would have thought infants, what's the excitement about looking at an infant and whatever they do, diba? Parang, but there are people who find that worth money. And maybe to give you context about how many attempts there were in 2022, there were 1.2 billion or 1.6 billion attempts to access URLs that are dealing with child abuse or child sexual material.
So in
1.6 billion.
In spite of PLDT and Smart blocking, taking down that source, the attempts to to connect and to buy the video material, to watch the video material continue. So parang sa kanila, try until they die.
Yes, at saka they come up with new sites and new URLs that you continue to block. And one of the things that we're piloting is called the global chain of trust. But this problem, while it's pervasive in the Philippines, it's not solely in the Philippines alone. So you have to work with other countries, which are also, there are also sources of content there. And parang you share information. So it's like a dynamic database of information, whitelisting and blacklisting sites that are safe for the whitelist, and then harmful for the blacklist. So parang exchanging information. So this is where the partnerships come in. No one person or no one entity can do this alone. And I think maybe in relation to current events, diba, what I liken PLDT's cybersecurity, so not only the one of children, but even for the phishing and smishing, I liken it to the Israel Iron Dome. You try to block as many malicious sites as you can. Maybe may makakalusot, some will actually come through, but to a large extent, we feel that we need to keep our customers safe. And there is that cybersecurity platform that's in place while everybody sleeps. And then at the end of the day, the other component na lang to that is the human factor, diba? We always say on one hand, we can put in the infrastructure to protect you, but also don't click on that link because it might be malicious, baka yun yung nakalusot. It might have been the one that got away. But it's a very complex problem that we are trying to solve and solve in relation or in partnership with other entities.
Well, 1.6 billion baka mo na
So,
attempts.
yes.
Wow.
Yes, and that
Anyway.
was only in 2022, diba? So, but then maybe some of the good things is that the attempts to date, medyo bumawas-bawas naman siya. Maybe some people, diba, don't try anymore. Pero still and all, meron pa rin. And this is the supply side, right? We're on the supply side of the equation. What we need to also work with other countries is the demand side of the equation. So these are people in other countries who find our children of interest to them. Parang, so you have to attack the problem several ways at several levels. And again, back to the partnership. We have to work
And I think you're not only talking about, babies or toddlers. You're also talking about young adults because young adults fall under the category of children.
Yes.
And I've noticed that there are particular countries and people who like watching sexy videos of young adults, but this falls in. Now, what happens if a parent or someone notices, ba, Paul to is there a hotline? Is there a number or a website that people can contact PLDT? And what are they supposed to tell you or information they're supposed to provide so that it can be blocked? Because I know there's so many parents struggling with online pornography of their children or their adult kids. But who and what do they do?
Yeah, so on Saturday, last Saturday, we actually launched, and kudos to the government, in partnership with our enterprise business, we launched the Makabata 1383 hotline, where people can report these things, abuse of children, whether it's sexual content, abusive material, or children by themselves in tough situations, right? So it's a hotline that we have launched that people can call to be able to report this sort of thing.
What is the hotline again, Melissa?
Makabata 1383 helpline. So
Makabata 1383.
Yes, so it's effectively 1383.
Okay.
So that's where people can report. And sometimes parang you talk about parents who are reporting their kids. Minsan yung parent yung, diba, yung, what we call it, the parent is the one that's facilitating the abuse because they figure, wala namang harm, di naman hinawakan yung anak ko, diba? Kinuhaan naman ng picture. They just took a picture of my kid. And for that, diba, parang wala namang no touch, diba? So I think sometimes it's also the other relatives, the other people who live in the same household who need to be able to be made aware that there is a hotline or helpline that you can call, and it will be treated very, I guess, carefully, delicately. So it's sometimes not the parents who need to report, it's the parents who need to be reported, diba? So, but anyway, there is that facility as well. That was just launched this Saturday, and I guess what we're trying to do is make that more known. We need to be able to publicize it. But the good thing is it's the government helping. It's a local government unit. It's PLDT and SMART. And the other interesting thing is there are more and more communities that are, I guess, enlightened. Yung mga local governments na ordinansa. They're working at it at the ordinance level. Kasi kung diba, wala namang batas, you have to go and file your case in court and all that. It's probably too much of a bother. But in this particular case, if it's a local ordinance and they make it easy for people to report at the barangay level, and there's protection for children and people who report, then parang the problem can be helped a little bit more.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's the sort of thing that PLDT or yourself or your team members can't show on TV. Yung parang, look what we accomplished, who we stopped, etc. Because there is a law prohibiting the presentation of young adults or children. And at the same time, people continue to be squeamish about the subject matter. I mean, pag nag-report ba sa'yo, skandalo? Because some people say, huwag ka na mag-report, baka ma-skandalo pa yan eh.
Oo. Actually, ganyan yung attitude, di ba? The attitude nga is, minsan you have to educate then you have to capacitate the authority na kung saan nag-report. Kasi minsan, yung what they say is, problema ng pamilya yan, di ba? I-resolve nyo na lang sa pamilya. Kasi nga sensitive. They probably don't know how to deal with it. So
Or they don't want to deal with it.
Correct. So parang what we need to be able to do is to also capacitate the authorities that are going to help these families. Paano nyo ba i-handle, di ba? Tapos magulang, sometimes it's the kid himself. Maybe he's thinking, what will I do if my parent goes to jail? Paano na ako? So it's a very, very complex problem. Unfortunately, it just basically stems out of poverty. So the bigger problem, while we're trying to address this at the blocking stage and regulation stage, at the end of the day, it's all about poverty. So I guess all of us, many of us, have to help that problem somehow. But if you discourage maybe or you disable the platform by which this is made possible, maybe that helps a little bit. I don't think to solve anything altogether, pero alisin yung platform, di ba? Kumbaga sa tindahan, isara yung tindahan, close the store so that you're not able to sell that merchandise. Obviously, they'll open it somewhere else, but you just continue to chase and close those stores effectively.
Okay, well, Melissa, thank you very much for sharing the corporate endeavors of PLDT and SMART. And you guys are on track there because I have been involved in all of this in the past with another group. And it matters. It matters when children are not abused, are not presented sexually online, and it reflects Filipino culture and the Filipino people. So bravo to PLDT, bravo to SMART, and thank you for your time. Please, we are here anytime when you need the platform, and we are ready to share. Thank you. God bless you, Melissa.
Thank you and God bless.
Okay, that's Melissa Vergel de Dios, First Vice President, Chief Sustainability Officer, Head Investor Relations. One of these days, I want to guest her again to find out ano ba yung sustainability officer na yan? We'll be right. We'll now go to our closing blessing for the week. And our blessing comes from First Chronicles chapter 28, verse 20. Please, all of you, remember this. David also said to Solomon, his son, be strong and courageous and do the work. Do not be afraid or discouraged, for the Lord God, my God, is with you. He will not fail you. For all of us who are fighting evil, for all of us who are doing good, for all of us who are making a difference, don't be discouraged. Fight, fight, fight. Okay, God bless all of you. Please keep it here on One News.